Now let me make one thing very clear. This movie isn't that good. But it's good. Why am I making this video? I don't know, just to throw my aura into the mix. Because I feel like the consensus is that it is mid, and honestly, understandable. I've been known to enjoy many a movie that nobody else cares about. But I guess the reason I feel the need to defend this movie in particular is I don't know, honestly, but I'm gonna do it. And it's my YouTube channel, I can do whatever I want. And I will not be spoiling it because I do think it is worth your time to watch. So I'm actually quite glad they made a fourth Kung Fu Panda movie because, to me at least, the third movie was not an ending. Now, I don't know if they actually intended that movie to be the last one in the series, but it just left too much open for my liking. And also, it was kind of lame, but this movie's not about that movie. Not only does this movie give the characters much better closure, but it's also just better. Not by leaps and bounds. Again, I'm not like, this is... It's just a good movie. Let's start with the story. Now, to some degree, I was pretty much able to predict the whole thing. Like, the second they started talking about, we need a new Dragon Warrior, and then Jen showed up, like, come on. Like, that being said, though, I am a sucker for this type of story. Top Gun 2 did it, Guardians 3 did it, Cars 3 did it. The coming to terms with change and passing the torch to a new generation thing. I love that. I just love that. Just the idea of starting a new chapter in life, right? It's such an important and increasingly prevalent thing in my life. And so that I think that's just why I connect with these stories more. And this movie, I think it does it pretty well. And even though I did basically predict the overall arc of the story, there were still a lot of mini twists and turns that I did not. Poe and Jen had a lot of genuinely good... Poe and Jen had a lot of genuinely good emotional beats here. And at first I thought it was weird that Poe would choose someone who he had known for, what, a week to be his successor? But then I remember that Oogway chose Poe to be the Dragon Warrior, and he didn't know him at all. So it honestly fits. Everything's coming full circle, and that's just so satisfying and so fitting to me. And the characters reflect on the events of the past 3 movies in a way that's not just fan servicey, and instead goes in a pretty unexpected direction towards the third act. So generally, I would say this movie has a solid skeleton, as opposed to other movies that have gaseous skeletons. Now it's when we delve into the execution that some glaring issues come up. For example, the dialogue. It's not incredible. Like, the humor is pretty on point. I laughed a lot during this movie. But it does a lot of that unfortunate thing where the main character kind of just states the emotional, like, what they're thinking. Oh, this is all my fault. I was too focused on wanting everything to stay the same that I made something bad happen. Like, yeah, we have eyes and ears. You just got betrayed and kicked off a building. We can kind of piece together what you might be going through. But, you know, as far as dialogue in a movie for kids goes, it could have been much worse. And I think there were equally as many serious lines that actually were kind of hard. There's also the villain. What to say about her? I mean, like, the chameleon, she wasn't a bad villain, because, like, the second she was on screen, I was like, she has a pretty intimidating presence. But that's kind of all she has, is an intimidating presence. I liked her design. Viola Davis did a great job with the voice. But, like, I guess in comparison with the other villains in this trilogy, she just didn't do anything. She talked about doing things, and other people talked about her doing things, but she didn't really do anything in this movie. For Tai Lung, we had the epic prison escape scene. Shen destroyed the village where Poe's parents lived. Kai took down all of the Kung Fu masters single-handedly. And this bitch, she, pushes a guy down a flight of stairs. Wait, I take that back. She did do one, like, actually evil thing in the first scene. And, like, towards the end, she does start doing some crazy stuff that was like, okay, alright, the chameleon. You, okay. But it just does not compare at all to the other 3. And also, the chameleon, Like, come on, man. What are we doing? What are we doing? Every other villain in this series has had a name. Why is she just the chameleon? Like, it's just lazy and also makes no sense in a world where everyone is an animal. And the same goes for the 5, by the way, just naming them what species there are. I guess implying that there is only one tiger, monkey, mantis, snake, crane, and chameleon in this entire canon universe. So yeah, villain could have been much better developed, but like the chameleon did passable for the role that she was supposed to play in this story, you know. Okay, let's see what else in terms of negatives. Okay, I think it's time we address the elephant in the room. Awkwafina was actually kind of good. I said it. Yeah, I get the sense this is an unpopular opinion, but I like Awkwafina. I wonder why Raya the Last Dragon and the Little Mermaid remake were both bad, but the bad guys in this movie were both good. I wonder what the correlation there is. Anyway, I actually think Awkwafina did a good job in this movie. Not sure how I can, like, explain in objective terms why I think that. I don't know, maybe it's just Asian bias. Yeah, she fit the role well, she voice acted well, Her energy is a really good match for Jack Black's, while her character is in stark contrast. Yeah, it just works. Sometimes her deliveries that are supposed to be funny are just not, so, you know, that's a understandable thing. But, like, sue me. I like Awkwafina as an actress, I do. I'm pretty sure all of her voice acting roles so far have been animals, so she might also be a furry, so that's cool. And on another level, Awkwafina works in this movie because the whole story is about this new character being trained by an old character, Jack Black, who himself is like a legend in real life. He's been in the acting and entertainment space for so much longer than Awkwafina has. And while I will admit that I think she's taken just about as many bad roles as she has good ones, she's figuring her shit out. Like, that's what you do when you're in any profession, really. Not everyone can just be an immediate success. Like, you have to work for it. And that's what her character in this movie does. She's like, she has to figure her shit out. Like, I think she's pretty funny, and she's not a bad actor at all. And as time goes on, and as she is given more chances, she will improve. And speaking of the Asian casting, Ke Huy Quan was a pleasant surprise. I did not know he would be in this movie. But I love him. And also, speaking more broadly about the entire Kung Fu Panda series, I continue to be impressed with the level of detail they go into when making the Chinese-inspired backgrounds and settings and props and all that stuff. It's just very cool to me. I love that one of the mainstream animated franchises is inspired by Chinese culture, and that it nails it so well. Like, every background is gorgeous. It's really good. I do think they could have done more with the Staff of Wisdom. You know, I think they could have made the design for this thing more than just, like... The fight choreography, I mean, really cool. No notes. I also love it when they change up the animation style and give it that brushstrokey look. That shit's awesome. And the music too. The music is really good. I think it was during one of the chase scenes where they played an instrumental cover of Crazy Train with traditional Chinese instrumentation, and that was a nice touch. Oh, and of course Jack Black's Britney Spears cover. I mean, that was just awesome. Lastly, I want to wrap up this little review with sort of the legacy of Kung Fu Panda. There is definitely a lot of stigma around sequels, especially with kids animated movie sequels, because a lot of the time they're just made for money, and no one has any idea what the story is supposed to be, so they just take a shit onto a computer until it types out a script. But in my opinion, I think all 4 of these movies absolutely deserve to exist, because not only are all 4 of them, like, good, but they all interweave with each other in a very satisfying way. Like I said earlier, this movie is all about reflection on the past, and then starting the cycle again with this new character. And they honestly had a lot to go off of. The story doesn't just feel like something they made up out of nowhere. Like, yeah, Po be the Dragon Warrior forever. As opposed to a movie like Ralph Breaks the Internet, where Ralph and Vanellope's excuse to go to the internet was just very out of left field and like, what? Why? Who? What? Poe going outside of the Valley of Peace just to find that no one knows who he is like, yeah, that's like logical that would be a thing. And at first you had like it just seems like a silly joke, but that is integral to coming to accept the fact that he needs to pass his responsibilities on to someone else. And I was actually surprised to see how well this movie functioned without the 5 in it. I don't know if that's just because they couldn't get the voice actors back or what, but in a way they did always kind of feel just extra, you know, except for Tigress. But I think we've gotten everything we needed from her in the last 3 movies. And they do show up at the end, and when they did show up, I was like, oh hell yeah. It was just like this cherry on top of this beautiful ending to the Kung Fu Panda series. Oh, and Tai Lung too, he shows up, and that was also very cool. When I saw him on the poster and I knew that he was going to be in the movie, I was like, okay, cool, so his cameo is just going to be like, I'm back, and I'm gonna beat you up again. But no, they actually did something pretty interesting with Tai Lung returning, and I won't tell you what it is. Oh, and the last shot of the last shot of the movie was, the last shot references something that happened all the way back in the first movie with the peach seed. You'll know what I'm talking about when you see it. It's really great. This movie is definitely the end of the Kung Fu Panda series. As opposed to 3, which just ended with everyone like, it just felt like they were preparing for something else, so I'm glad we got this 4th movie. So yeah, I'm gonna give Kung Fu Panda 4 a 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. Okay, I can feel the judgment through the screen already. But I know I just saw it. I just went to see it. The theater was completely empty, but I still had a good time, and the vibes are good right now. So that's what it's gonna be for now. Well, I think that's gonna do it for this one. If you enjoyed, be sure to do everything that makes YouTube. Show this to more people, and if you don't, of course, I will unfortunately have to shove the Staff of Wisdom up your ass and send you back to the spirit realm. See ya.